We are live. Smiles, everyone. Hi, Heidi.
Hello.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Diane Rose Solomon, and I'm the founder of animalmagicfilms.com. And, oops, not that one, this one. There you go. Thank you for joining us for our 5th interview in the Science and Magic of the Human-Animal Bond interview series. We will be exploring many of the ways that animals help people and people help animals, because it's a both and conversation where we all benefit from this bond. Please welcome my guest, Heidi Huebner. Welcome, Heidi. It's so nice to see you.
You too. Good to see you again.
Yeah, I met Heidi when I filmed her program, the LAX PUP program, which we're going to be talking about today, last year. And then we keep having these small world connections and bumping into each other, like in Texas, like just crazy things. So before I read you her bio, if you have not yet watched the 3-minute short mini documentary that I made about the LAX PUP program, you can watch it on YouTube at Animal Magic Films, or you can also find it at on my website, animalmagicfilms.com. So here's her bio. Just a little bit of her bio, because it's actually quite extensive. Heidi Huebner has been creating humane education programs, therapy dog programs, and placing dogs in homes for the last 20 plus years. In 2013, she created and is the director of the LAX PUP program, which stands for Pets Unstressing Passengers, for the Los Angeles World Airports. And they're celebrating 8 years with 110 dogs and volunteers to date. She has also assisted 90 airports nationwide and in Canada to start similar programs, and continues to consult new clients interested in starting a program. So she's got, let me keep going actually a little bit. So she was the executive director of the nonprofit organization Kids and Pets. She was hired by LA Animal Services to revamp the volunteer program and create programs to help get animals adopted from the shelters. She's the founder of Uniting Hands and Paws, and she also consults with the organization Autism Works Now. We are going to talk about all of this. But let me start by asking you, what inspired you to get involved with animals, and what inspired you to start the LAX PUP program?
So I have to go back when I was a child. My mother was a huge animal lover. Both of my parents, but especially my mom, was into rescuing animals before people were even talking about what a rescue animal is. So my love for animals literally stems from the day I was born. And being able to work with both animals and people in the volunteer programs is my dream job. So when it came to starting the PUP program, it just made sense to me. Before I had started programs where we had animal afternoons with seniors, we were taking our therapy pets to schools. This was when I was with Kids and Pets. Mm-hmm. We were teaching humane education, and the calmness that animals bring, it's something that I've known my whole life, and I've also watched it in all of the other programs I created. So what better place to have therapy dogs than at an airport, and especially LAX, the second busiest airport nationwide. So with that being said, I put pen to paper and presented it to the upper management, and they really loved the idea and said, let's make it happen. And 8 years later, there you have it.
Amazing. I mean, and we got to witness it. Oops, I'm kidding. I'm going to put on a headset. I got to witness it and film it so that other people can see it. And it was amazing. In fact, before we went out, the feedback went away, so I'll leave the headset off. Before we went out to actually bring the dogs into the terminals, I said to you, I hope this goes well. Your comment was, it always goes well. Like, there's always magic.
Yeah.
And so it was just, and it didn't disappoint. It was just really, truly remarkable and magical. So it was really wonderful. So how does this program in particular help people? And also, how does it help animals?
It helps people because we never know why somebody's traveling. It could be for vacation and they're sad because they had to leave their animals at home, or maybe somebody's having to move for a job relocation, a funeral. There's just a million reasons why people travel. We don't know what they are, but we know that when they see the dogs, it really does bring love and joy and compassion. People light up, they see the dogs in the Pet Me vest, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can pet this dog. And then they just kind of start opening up. And, we've had some people break down crying because they're just going through really, really tough times. And what a great way to break that barrier and give that person relief through the dog. And then the volunteer is there just to kind of give a hug and give some kind words and some listening ears. So it is magical is the right word to use. And it's always that way. It also is great for the dogs because most of our dogs in the program are rescues. And we don't know what situation they came to the shelter or the rescue group that they came from before the Lucky Pup volunteers got them. I like to say every dog has a job. It's just what is that dog's job and trying to find it. So these, therapy dogs love people. They just have the kindest souls. They want to comfort people. And that's what I look for in the therapy dog. It's the dog wanting to go to people to give love. Now, we have those dogs that would not be great therapy dogs. They're going to be your great own personal dog to give you and your family or just you and yourself that love and attention that you need. And all of the different working dogs, that are out there, and I could talk hours about that, but, it's beneficial for these dogs because all they want to do is give love.
That's so true. I remember the first time I was LAX, not the first time I was at LAX, because I've been there many times, but the first time I was there and saw a dog with the Pet Me vest. And at first, I thought it was a service dog vest that, which means don't pet me. Usually that's what it says on the vest. And I looked closer. I said, it says pet me. And the woman said, oh, yes. And she was with your program. It was a hound dog. Maybe you know who it is. Maybe you don't know who it is. And she gave me the card. And I was just so happy. I'm like, this is so great. And it reminded me, I think you know my story of being in a hospital years ago when a woman, 2009, and a woman poked her head into my hospital room and said, do you want a visit from a dog? And I didn't even know that dogs were allowed in hospitals, much less that therapy animals were a thing. And so to see them in the airport a few years ago was like, wow, this is so cool, like that it's here too. It was just really remarkable. What a great idea for you to bring it to the airports.
Thank you.
What is the status now with your program with COVID? I assumed that it was just stopped, but what's going on?
Well, we have been on hiatus since March until the last 2 weeks, where we said, let's try and see, because now we need dogs more than ever during this trying time with COVID. So I have 6 volunteers who are in the terminals testing the waters to see how it is, how are the responses. And as you can imagine, people are thrilled to see them back. The employees are ecstatic. It's just brought, such great joy and positivity to these folks. And, it's a challenge because we have to be very careful to try to follow the 6-foot social distance rule with the dog on a leash. So it's a lot of really good communication from the volunteers to the travelers, to our guests, reminding them, hey guys, if you're traveling individually, you can only pet the dog one at a time. You can't come up together for safety. We're making sure that everybody is sanitizing their hands before and after petting the dogs. If a family's traveling together, they are allowed to pet the dog together. And, it's been wonderful. There are 7 other airports right now also testing the waters to see how it goes. So fingers crossed that we're able to continue to do this during the holiday season.
That would be great. I'm sure particularly, all right, I'm putting this on, particularly stressed. Traveling in general, traveling because it's the holiday season, and traveling during the holiday season during COVID. I'm just putting this in.
Exactly.
So let's circle back to some of the other programs that you started. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Let's circle back to some of the Kids and Pets. Tell me about the Kids and Pets program, or LA Animal Services, or Uniting Hands and Paws, or Autism Works Now, or any of them, or all of them.
So, with Kids and Pets, the main focus was humane education and going to the schools and talking to kids the importance of kindness to animals, spay and neuter. And it was an awesome, we were in so many different schools, and it was great. A lot of the kids already had that knowledge. And then for the ones that didn't, to be able to send them home with materials for their parents, again, to understand, especially the importance of spay and neuter. And, working with the seniors and, in the nursing homes, so many of them are so lonely. They don't have anybody coming to visit them. And I'm going to interject that for a second. A lot of my PUP volunteers are doing virtual visits with folks in nursing homes. So we are still trying to stay proactive during this time when we haven't been able to be with people. So it's really wonderful to see that. And then as far as Autism Works Now, that's an amazing organization that works with kids on the spectrum to try to help them get jobs. And one of the programs we do with them is we have them come visit the airport, because a lot of them have never traveled or been to the airport, so they can see what the workings and mechanisms are. And of course, when we have the pups with them, it just alleviates some initial stress that they might have before even stepping foot into the airport. That's been a lot of fun and very successful with that group. And let's see, as far as with animal services, the volunteer programs, one of the reasons they had hired me was, how do we reach out and get more animals adopted? Mm-hmm. So we came up with the Senior for Senior program, where seniors could adopt senior animals for free.
So good.
The Red List program, which would push those dogs out to our rescue group, that community, like, if you can please come save this dog, this is one that really doesn't have any time left. Increasing our adoption events in the shelters. We partnered with Pet Care Foundation and different groups, bringing the public into the shelters to try to get these animals out and adopted. So it's just, there's so much more we can do. And it's exciting, the things that we have done.
Right. It's like, yes, you want to be grateful and happy for how far we've come. And yet there's still so much more that can be done to help animals find homes. And I do love what you shared before, that so many of the animals, the dogs in the PUP program, were rescue dogs, that, that you don't have to have a pedigree to be a therapy dog at all. You just have to have the right temperament.
And to go along with that, it's very interesting to see now how with certain service animals that people are realizing we don't have to breed them. Like, they're finding shelter dogs that can act as service dogs. Now, certain ones, if people are alerting to epilepsy for deaf folks and blind folks, those dogs, the training on that is like really, really a lot. And so there are certain breeds that are suited better to do that, which we know, but a lot of the ESA dogs and other dogs, kids with autism, a lot of these shelter dogs, again, that's their job. It's like those dogs have a job, and we're finding those jobs for those dogs.
Yeah, there's an organization in Colorado. There's a few of them now, but the first one that I remember learning about is called Freedom Service Dogs. I think that's what it's called. And they were one of the first to pull dogs out of the shelter for service, to be a service animal. And I remember thinking, wow, that's so cool. But it takes a trained eye to know, to suspect that a certain dog will have the right temperament, and to trust them and to work with them and give them a chance to see if they'll work. And sometimes it doesn't work out, and then they're just a good companion dog. But there's a lot of movement right now with more animals shelter animals being able to work in this kind of field, as opposed to just being shelter dogs and whatnot. So that's really cool. So yeah, your past is amazing. All of the work that you've done for animals, and now you've really united it, to help people. And I could just see on so many levels how you've helped animals along the way. And of course, when you help a shelter dog, you're also helping a family, a person get their pet, which is just remarkable. It's just a beautiful thing. So tell me, do you have a favorite story to share? It could be LAX PUP program. it doesn't have to be?
Lots of stories to share, but I am going to share one from the PUP program. This was about 5 years ago. And we were, I had a couple dogs in the terminal. It was really, really busy during the holidays. So normally they go out individually. But for this particular time, I'm like, let me have a group of them come out so we had more coverage. And a girl came up sobbing. And it was like, oh my gosh, what's wrong? How can we help you? And she could not stop crying. So she just fell on the floor, was petting two of the dogs for maybe a good 20 minutes. And finally she looked up and said, I have been stranded for 2 days in this airport. I can't get home because of weather, flight cancellation. I mean, it was just like one thing after the other. And she said, I felt so alone. I'm scared. And just seeing these dogs and being able to like hug them and pet them, like has just turned my whole time around to be okay. And I'm going to be okay now. And so my one volunteer was like, well, when is your next flight? Do they know? And it was like 3 hours. And they said, I'm going to sit with you and make sure that you get on this plane.
Wow.
Wow. How beautiful is that? And they did.
I'm tearing up a little bit, like not a lot, but just a little bit. It's like enough to get the emotion flowing. I mean, it's just amazing that people can have that connection with the animal, that you can be just like losing it and you see the dog and it like turns it around for you. And then the love of your volunteer that's where the human to human connection comes in, That's
Yes.
where the handlers are being really decent people. And I think it takes a really decent person to become a handler in the first place, saying,
Absolutely.
I want to volunteer my time and bring my dog to do this kind of work. I think it's really quite beautiful.
Thank you. I know it's like, oh.
Yeah, excuse me. My next question, we kind of just answered it, but my next question is, how does this all make the world a more compassionate place? And you just told the most beautiful compassion-filled story, but let's talk about it.
Well, our world is all social media. You walk through terminals, you walk through Starbucks, restaurants, the street, and everybody's on their phone, they're on their devices, nobody's looking up, nobody's smiling at each other. It's just this. And when the therapy dogs come into play, all of a sudden people look up and they start talking to other people. And it's like, oh, we have something in common. We both love a dog, and conversations start happening where they otherwise would not have started. And then it's interesting, like I can't tell you how many times, somebody's flying to the same place or they start talking about something. It was like, oh, I was there on vacation a couple years ago where this person is flying now. All of these little nuances, like that doesn't happen by accident.
Right.
And, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll be walking through and then the same people who were petting the dog together are still having a conversation, maybe 40 minutes later.
They made a friend. They made a friend.
They made a friend. I call it, mini families.
Mini families.
Families at the airport.
That's so great. It just changes the whole dynamic of travel. It changes it from the dreaded travel to, I met some cool people and listen to what happened to me today. And it makes it much warmer. It's just really beautiful. I love that.
Can I share one more warm story about that?
Go for it.
All right. So this was back in the beginning when we had just launched the program, and I had 2 pups with me, and we were walking through and saying hi to people. And I always like to ask, like, especially if it looks like maybe it's a group traveling, like to get on a cruise ship or something like that. And sure enough, they were going to be flying from Los Angeles to Florida for a cruise. And there was this family and this elderly lady, and it was her 80th birthday.
Okay.
And she said, I am traveling with my family. I'm so excited to go on this cruise. I didn't even know if I would be alive to do this. 2 years ago, I was in the hospital. She was very, very ill, and they had a therapy dog that came. And so that made her so happy during her hospital stay. So fast forward, now she's at the airport celebrating her 80th birthday. She sees therapy dogs. So I was like, hey, everybody, are you all going on the same cruise? And all these strangers were raising their hands. And I was like, let's sing happy birthday to this beautiful lady. Her name escapes me right now, but let's just say it's Ethel.
Right.
So we had about 200 people singing happy birthday to Ethel in the terminal.
Amazing.
How cool is that?
Amazing. Just amazing.
Because of the dog.
Forget, and because of the dog. It's so brilliant. It's so brilliant. Well, Heidi, this has been amazing. I'm so glad we had a chance to talk more, because when I filmed you, we had a chance to talk, and then we ended up making this 3-minute mini documentary, and 90% of what we talked about just didn't make it in. So I'm glad we had a chance to spend a few more minutes today and chat a little bit. Tell me, where can we learn more about the LAX PUP program?
You can visit our website, www.lawa.org/pup. That'll take you straight to the website, all the information, what it takes to be a therapy dog. Even though we're in COVID times, I'm still recruiting. So if you think you have a dog that we write for the program, contact me. We could do a virtual meet and greet, talk over the phone, and the more people, the better.
Because at some point, it's not going to be COVID time anymore, and we're gonna want the terminals filled with therapy pups again. So
exactly, absolutely,
and I'm looking forward to that time. Thank you so much. I have a few announcements, but thank you, Heidi. This has been a pleasure. It's always nice speaking with you. It's so great seeing you, seeing your face. And but before we go, I have a couple of quick announcements. First of all, please check out animalmagicfilms.com, where you can join our community and learn about upcoming films and news. We actually have another film coming out in a couple of weeks. And if you're not yet a member of the Science and Magic of the Human Animal Bond group in our Facebook group, please join us. And then if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel, Animal Magic Films. And also, if you have a human animal bond story that you would like for us to include on our website or potentially be interviewed like this one, please email me at diane@animalmagicfilms.com. So thank you, Heidi, so much for being here. It's been such a pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for spending time with us today. There will not be an interview next week due to the holidays in the U.S., but we will be back here on Tuesday, December 1st at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And have a great couple of weeks. And thanks again, Heidi.
Thank you, Diane, for all that you do as well. It's great to see you. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great holiday.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye, Heidi.